I love drama. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Ali. If you're new here, hello. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you for not being sick of me yet. Today, I am bringing you a part 2 to one of my most viewed, most popular videos, Enemies to Lovers. It's been, I want to say, at least 6 months, maybe more, since I uploaded that video, and to this day, my top viewed video. So, in that 6 months, I've read a lot more books. So, I wanted to do a part 2, a little bit of an update, add some more books to the Enemies to Lovers fantasy edition of book recommendations. So, let's jump right into it. So the first book I'm bringing is part of a series. It is now 3 books. I believe it's going to be 4, but I could be wrong. The 3rd book just came out a few months ago. So it's a good series to start and binge, and that is Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. This is obviously Enemies to Lovers and fantasy. So this is witches and demons. This follows our main character, Amelia. She is from a family of witches. Twin sister and her both have witchy powers. One day her sister goes missing. Amelia thinks she's been murdered, and she wants to find out the truth about what happens to her sister. So she summons a demon, Wrath, and accidentally attaches herself to this demon to help her figure out what happens to her sister and all of that jazz. The first book or 2 is more YA, but the 3rd book is definitely more like adulty, spicy. Amazing banter. I love Wrath. I love Amelia. Twist, turns, all the good things you need. It'll keep you entertained. It'll keep you on your feet. So yeah, if you're looking for a good Enemies to Lovers series to binge, I definitely suggest this one. So then after that, this is a book that you can get on Kindle, is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. She has written Fable, which is really popular. I haven't read it yet, but she's a pretty good author. I enjoy her things. Sky in the Deep is Enemies to Lovers, but make it Vikings. So our main character and our main love interest are on different Viking tribes, and our main character is captured and taken into the enemy Viking tribe and like held captive, and it's enemies to lovers with her captive, where they teach each other the ways of their own clans and make each other realize that each group is not as evil as they so suppose, and they have to work together to kill a common enemy. I love it. I am a big fan of the whole Viking aspect of it. I want more Viking-esque books, so if you have recommendations for Viking type books, send them to me please, because I enjoy this book. Again, it has amazing banter. It's one of my favorite Enemies to Lovers, so if you have not read it, I highly suggest it. You're missing out. It is a standalone. It's fairly short, so it's not, again, the most in-depth of character development. I would say it's maybe a 350 page book. It's fairly small, standalone, so if you want an Enemies to Lovers that's not a series, I definitely suggest this one. So then back into Enemies and Lovers, but make it a series. Throne of Glass. Most of Throne of Glass is Enemies to Lovers. This is an 8-book series that I finished last year. Throne of Glass is my favorite Sarah J. Maas series. It's Throne of Glass for me, ACOTAR, and then Crescent City. You can really get into the aspects of everything with this book. There is multiple love interests. Some love interests turn from love to enemies. Some turn from enemies to lovers. Some are friends to lovers. You get it all, and it's incredible. So for the Enemies to Lovers aspect of this, our main character, Aelin, she is an assassin. She's an orphan raised to be an assassin and is trying to basically get her freedom away from her assassin master, like buy herself out of her contract basically. So she ends up fighting for the king and meeting all these people and yada yada yada, and she's eventually sent on a mission from the king to another island where she meets Rowan, who is Fae. They hate each other until they don't hate each other, and I love them. They are one of my favorite like comfort couples. But yeah, Throne of Glass, I loved it. Don't be intimidated by its size. It really keeps you entertained through the whole thing, so I definitely suggest it if you want to read it. Also, this is a popular enough series that you can find most of these books at thrift stores or things like Pango, so you can buy them secondhand and not have to pay full price. So then my next book is a fairly new read for me, and it's one that I love, and that is 1,000 Heartbeats by Kira Cass, who wrote the Selection series. The Selection series had me in a chokehold in middle school. If this book existed in middle school, this book would also have me in a chokehold. First of all, can we appreciate the beautifulness of this book? It's just a gorgeous book. I am just in love with it. Like the Selection, it is YA. This is not in any way spicy or steamy or adulty. It is YA. that is simply all it is. It's a fairly big book. This is 561 pages. So it's a big read, but it goes by fast because it is YA, large print, fast timing. So for enemies to lovers, this follows Annika, who is a princess of like the main king. They have been the royal family in power for decades. They have been the family that has like gone through the wars and taken over all the land. And then there is Lennox, who is related to royalty. His mom has married a king of one of the countries that has been taken over. So they have no established kingdom, and they want to take over Annika's kingdom and get their land back because they think that they rightfully should have that throne. So they're enemies to lovers of different kingdoms, thinking that they are royalty and trying to figure out who it is and who's not. It's very in the sense of Cruel Prince, where you have a lot of the politics aspect going on and not just the cutesy romance. So Annika has an arranged marriage, and she is like out riding horses with her arranged fiance and gets captured by Lennox and his friends and is held captive, all of that. And they have a big cat and mouse thing going. This has forced proximity, like a one bed type thing, but there isn't even a bed. They are like trapped in a cave together for a while. So it has a lot of good enemies to lovers tropes, but in a very nice YA fashion. So again, if you want a sort of standalone, quicker read that is a YA thing, you're not a big spice person, I definitely suggest this. Even if you are a spice person, I love a spice, but this made me giddy. This made me feel like I was in middle school again, and I loved it. I highly, highly recommend it. So then next, again, more in the YA, not exactly spicy bracket, I have These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. This is a duology. There might be a third one, I'm not sure. I've only read the first one. I have not read the second one. This is enemies to lovers, but also like a love triangle. You haven't exactly figured out which of the love interests she's going to end up with. One love interest is like friends to lovers to enemies to lovers to friends to enemies. And then the other love interest is just straight up enemies to lovers. Lots of twists and turns, lots of drama with the love triangle aspect of it. So this follows the main character, Bree. She is like a thief. She lives in a very poor family with her little sister. Her parents have both died. She is paying rent to a stepmother to stay in their house, very Cinderella-esque. So she goes and steals from people to make money, but it's gotten to the point where she owes so much money to her aunt that she is going to lose her housing for her and her sister. So at the same time that this is going on, also very Selection-esque, there is a ball for the Fae Prince to try and find him a wife, specifically a human wife. So her sister gets the idea that if they go to this ball, maybe there's some chance that they could get chosen to be Prince's new bride, and that will solve all their money issues. It won't hurt to try. So they make the decision to go to this ball, but before that happens, there's problems, there's conflict, yada yada. Her sister ends up being sold by her aunt to make up money, so now she is also trying to get money to pay her aunt, but to also buy her sister back. Enemies to lovers, her best friend is not who she thinks he is. She ends up having magical powers and gets trained for those powers by the enemy. Those two love interests don't get along, so it's also enemies between love interests, and betrayal and backstabbing and heartbreak and love and yada yada yada. It's great. It's YA. It's fast-paced. I will definitely continue reading this series. I just haven't gotten to it yet. So then next I have Surf It and Dub by Shelby Mahurin. Shelby Mahurin? I'm sorry, Shelby, I don't know how to say your last name. I am dyslexic. I don't know if I would consider this book YA. Not that it's not YA spicy. I don't really think it is spicy. There's a little bit more spice. It might have, I think it's peppery. It's got a little bit of pepper, but it's not necessarily spicy. I don't really think it's YA. It doesn't have the fast-pacedness of a YA book. It definitely has more of an adult feel to it. This is witches and witch hunters. So our main love interest, one is a witch, one is a witch hunter. They are in an arranged marriage without knowing about each other. The husband doesn't know that the now wife is a witch. The now wife knows that the husband is a witch hunter and wants to somehow convince him that witches aren't bad because she loves him and they love him, and I love the drama. It did take me a little bit longer to get into just because I was expecting it to be more YA than what it was. Now that I've read it, I don't hate it in any way. So if you're not a YA person and you want more adult themed book, I would suggest this one maybe over the others. I believe there's 3 books for this. I've again only read the first one. This is a series where I'll probably finish it, but it's not necessarily on the top of my list. But if you want something that is like olden Victorian themed, more very Salem witches, burning witches at stakes, fighting the church type thing, then I definitely suggest it for you. And then finally, the last book that I have for my enemies to lovers situation is Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. We're gonna go with that. Bridget Kemmerer. So this book was on my TBR forever, and I finally sat down and read it. It wasn't what I expected, but not in a bad way. I don't know what I expected from this. I was also thinking that this was gonna be more new adult when it was more YA in my opinion. Honestly, I loved it. It's been one of my favorite things that I've read so far. So this follows our main character, Tess. She lives in the poor, poverty-stricken part of her kingdom. Right now, there is this big sickness going through the entire kingdom. It's in the church, it's in the poor communities, everything. And the only antidote or way to make yourself feel better from this sickness is grown from a flower. So this flower rationed to all the different areas of the kingdom. But of course, poorer areas get less than what they need. More people are dying. Tess and her friend Wes become smugglers to steal more of these flowers from the richer communities and bring them back home to their people to help them feel better. This is extremely illegal. People are killed for it all the time. So Tess and Wes don't actually know who each other is. They both assume they're using fake names. Wes is, Tess does not. They wear masks when they see each other. They've never seen each other's face, so that if one of them gets caught, that no matter how hard they get interrogated, they can't sell the other person out because they don't know who they are. So one day, Wes goes missing. Tess discovers that he was caught and killed. Her kind of just feeling in a rage about her best friend dying, sneaks into the palace, not really knowing what her intentions are. I don't think she wants to kill anybody, but she's angry and wants to yell. She gets captured at the castle, only to then realize that the prince is not who she thinks he is. Wes is not who she thought he is. And she's basically captured in the castle, has to work things out with this prince. It's very good. Again, has a lot of the politics aspect to it. If you are like an assassin-y thieves type person, I think you would really enjoy this. YA, faster pace, again, maybe a little bit of pepper, not necessarily spicy. This, I believe, is right now only a duet. I know for sure there's a second book. I'm not sure if there's a third one. Don't quote me on it. But yeah, I definitely suggest it. It was one of my favorite out of these entire books. But yeah, these are all my books that I recommend for an updated enemies to lovers if you are wanting more of that. Hopefully I have given you some new options that you have not read or heard of yet. Thank you guys for being here and hanging out with me. If you want to follow me anywhere on my social medias, they are always on my end screen, down below, all the places. Down below is also my Amazon wish list. If you want to send me any books that are on there, you can add your own and send me your own favorite book. Down below is also my PangoBooks. So if you want to read any of these, especially something big like Throne of Glass, you can go and find a secondhand copy of it so you don't have to buy things full price. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I love and appreciate you so much. Please stay safe. Have a good rest of your new section of the new year. I love you. Stay safe. I'll see you someone on the internet. Goodbye.